All right, we are recording.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We're here for the March 16th policy meeting. Barbara Owens is here, student board members, Mr. Kelly is here with us as well. RG O'Leary is joining us by Google Meet. So why don't we kick this meeting off with our first item, which is the valedictory class policy. This time we're just put this on the agenda because it's something that comes up from time to time. Has some interest in terms of what the policy is, what policy might be, what policy could be, what policy should be. And so with that, I think I'm just going to hand it over to Mr. McCready and Kelly, so that we can be educated ourselves on this policy.
Perfect. So I know that this has been something that the board has talked about looking into. We had a couple conversations in the past about valedictory class, rankings in general, salutatory, valedictory, and all those different things. And our district has a policy that has been enacted. The only one at this table who has all the historical knowledge and understanding of why this was done, what the purpose of it is, how it functions, the pros and cons of it, is really Mr. Kelly. And I know Tim has been passionate about this project. He's actually talked to me multiple times over the past 6 years about this. So before Tim is to retire, I really wanted him to come in, at least teach us all about this, share his input and insight, and really so that way we can truly understand this a lot better before we move forward with anything. So Tim, the show is yours.
All right. Well, I have nothing prepared, but prior to me arriving here 31 years ago, there was a lot of controversy surrounding a recent valedictorian. I don't know if it was the year before, a couple years before, but a student had moved to the district kind of midway through high school and ended up being the valedictorian. I mean, that's my understanding. I wasn't here for it, but the person she is usurped the right word? He or she, that was a source of some hard feelings, understandably. So I don't know if there was a lawsuit or a threatened lawsuit, but that led to some discussions that I think ultimately resulted in our valedictory class policy. In my files are some ancient copies from like other school districts, lawsuits, similar things. I think we had something in writing at one point where that scenario couldn't happen again, where a student coming new to the district wouldn't be able to, but that's long since lost. The current valedictory policy, I think it was enacted in 2007, maybe. Well, the current one is 2015. But prior to that, I think it was 2007. I have a letter from Mark Diefendorf, actually 2004. At that point, in 2004, we had probably half the AP classes we have now. So it was determined that if a student took 7 AP honors or college and high school classes, they were eligible if they had a certain GPA. Now, given the fact that we have sometimes 14 AP classes going on at once, 7 doesn't seem like enough. 7 doesn't seem like a lot. If I'm not gonna put the girls on the spot, but traditionally, the kids with the top 25 GPAs tend to have taken well over 7. If you think about the APs and the honors and the college and the high school classes you guys have taken, it's probably far more than 7. So the valedictory class doesn't really weed out a lot of students. Not that it necessarily should, but if the Board of Ed, and this is truly a Board of Ed decision because Board of Ed represents the community, does the community want the valedictorian to be the student who has the highest achievement based on, the most rigorous schedule or some combination of those two things. That's a question for the board. I just know from my desk that students do know of this policy and some students do game the system. And they will take the minimum number to get to that valedictory class. And we've had situations over the years where students who have taken, it's not even debatable, their schedules have been far less rigorous, and they've been the one giving the valedictory speech. Is that fair? Well, it's controversial every year that happens. But again, that's something I'd love for the Board of Ed to take a look at. What do we want the val and sal to be? Should it just be highest average? Should it include the rigorous schedule?
Are you,
This is question time.
yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Discussion
Are
students.
you familiar with how do other districts take an approach that you find to be more favorable than what our current policy?
Honestly, I can't say I've looked at it in probably 10 years.
I have looked at it. It is all over depending on your community. Some districts do away with ranking altogether. There's no top 20, no top 10, no anything like that. Some districts are getting rid of balance salad. I believe there's an article that I linked 2 years ago that shows current districts. And again, I'd have to look back at it, but I believe in our policy shared folder, there's an article probably from 2 years ago, RG, I think, that has the districts that have gotten rid of valedictory class, like the balance out altogether or change a component. That's only capital region areas. So I've changed them. So some school districts are lessening it to have it not be a ranking at all, not to be encompassing all those different things, just to have it be what it is. I do believe there are districts that still say your valedictorian is X, right? And it's very specific. So it kind of runs again based on the school community, what the community values are, and what the schools are.
And we got rid of class rank here officially 20 years ago. So officially,
Why? Why, Tim?
when we are asked by anyone, what's my rank? Our official policy is we do not rank, and that's been a policy for 20 years.
Do you know why that came out?
I do.
Oh, here we go. There was a resolution. Is this a board resolution or where did this come from?
It came from this file. At least.
Tim had a file. This is what happens when you've been here for as long as Tim. You have this amazing file. All right, so there is a resolution to eliminate class rank. Does not look like a board resolution. Clayton Mountain High School site-based decision-making team recommends that the school board, no, it does, pass a resolution to eliminate ranking of students within the Voorheesville Central School District effective with 2005-2006 academic year. This policy will begin with the graduating class of 2006. So the board may have passed a resolution to get rid of this in 2005.
But in practice, in fact, we do not. So whoever, the policy, let's assume for a moment that maybe it wasn't passed. That's our practice.
That's our practice, right?
I want to use this time as effectively as possible. So I want to hear from students. I want to hear what your thoughts, questions might be in terms of this entire issue. So please.
I mean, I've definitely heard from other students about like the valedictorian, and the salutatorian. And I definitely think a lot of people think it's unfair. And I guess like the valedictory class, that they think it's unfair that it's not exactly like weighted APs and that like it's just solely on like the highest average.
Because then, right, you have people who game the
Yeah.
system and who try and just take advantage of it so they can get the speech, which doesn't seem fair to the people who like challenge themselves all throughout high school. Should be rewarded for that. Then the other thing is, if we don't have these ranks and we don't have valedictory class, what's saying like people are still going to take APs? This is kind of the incentive. Like, people are all pushing for this. It's competitions and we'll get like work harder for it. So it makes sense to have some kind of reward at the end. Artist.
One thing I just noticed when Mr. Kelly was talking, I have someone, my first name. and that the valedictory class is where you choose the valedictorian from. Right? So if the board wanted to look at, it's not about weighting, right? Because you could look at weighting and all those things. We don't weight, and Mr. Kelly's actually reached out to some colleges and they prefer not weighting grades, right? Because they weight their own when they come in. I was very surprised by that when he shared that information with me. But there is a way to make it more subjective by changing the valedictory class criteria, because then it changes the criteria for the valedictorian and salutatorian. Did you ever have any thoughts on that, Tim? You like that
Well,
slide
yes,
in? Maybe how, like, what you would
Yeah,
seen or heard or
again,
talked about?
I haven't thought a lot about this in a while, but I did think about it a lot years ago, and I did throw something together. Apologies for not being well prepared for this meeting. So I proposed something, I'll bet it was more than a dozen years ago. 94 GPA after third quarter of senior year, or top 10% of the class. Now, right there, that's assuming we are putting the averages in order and essentially ranking. I wanted the students to have earned a minimum number of credits at that point, eliminating the kid who comes in from a different school, eliminating the kid who graduates a year early. Okay, and that's controversial too, because in recent memory, we've had students who only took 3 years of high school, never really had a class with you guys, but is giving the speech to you guys. It didn't really sit right with a lot of the parents or a lot of the kids. On the other hand, that kid had a tremendous GPA, and there were no rules prohibiting such a thing. So that was one part of what I thought, and then I wanted the students to have taken a variety of things, because yes, APs are important, but maybe AP music theory, or maybe just music theory at the time, that was the hardest music course. Maybe there's other ways to go about this, and maybe the rigor in math and science is well served here, because we have 3 math APs, we have at least 3 science APs. We only have 1 music AP. We don't have any art APs. So, how do we include everybody to be fair? Because some kids work very hard at other things that aren't necessarily AP classes. So I think we have to kind of define what's rigorous, and maybe require a minimum amount of rigor that is currently greater than the minimum amount of rigor that we're asking for.
Do you have a number in mind?
I think I was thinking 9, but it wouldn't just be a straight, one of these AP or honors classes necessarily. Could be principles of engineering, could be portfolio prep. Those might be included. But again, this was over a dozen years ago. I'm thinking about this, and some of our offerings have changed. And honestly, I was trying to kind of throw something against the wall, see if anything would stick at the time. So my proposal from back then would certainly need to be tweaked if you wanted to consider it at all.
Do you happen to know what is the average number of AP classes that, just your random graduate add?
Haven't looked at that in a while either, but it was for the valedictory class, it was probably 9 or more.
I'm thinking 13, I think. That's not all that high for some people.
Is that credits or courses?
Um,
13.
13 AP courses.
Impressive.
Are you counting honors? You're counting college and high school in that number?
Yeah.
Then you've taken just about all of them.
Archie, any questions? Otherwise, I got one.
I just wanted to say something really quick. I just did a quick
Yeah,
search.
You
I
go
could-
first. You go first.
I
I'll hold.
could be wrong, but Bethlehem does have a valedictorian and salutatorian. From what I can see right now, Gilliam does not. So just to show you, like, they don't name an official valedictorian salutatorian, so, and I thought so, so I want to confirm that, but I mean, just by our neighbors, right? And we're talking huge suburban school districts in comparison to us. One does it, one doesn't. So when you're saying, what do most schools do? There it is, right there. There's two very different opinions.
Couldn't be clearer.
Couldn't be clearer right next to us, right? So that's all I kind of want to share that, because there's no right or wrong here. It comes down, I think Tim said it right, a mirror of what your community wants and has expectations for its school and for its students. So
As I read the policy, it does not seem to allow for any subjective consideration. Am I correct? It just says the valedictorian salutatorian will be determined by overall GPA. So it's mathematical as long as they have the minimums of the 3 bullet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Has it ever been, well, is it subjective in any other school districts? Meaning you maybe come up with your eligible universe and then within that universe,
I don't
Select.
believe so, because it's such, and again,
I
it's my
know
own
it.
opinion,
I'm not saying.
but
it's a
since
good
this is
idea.
such a very high profile, politically charged, highly emotional topic for school districts, I would doubt that any school district has any subjective component built into it, like any committee based or anything. I would find that hard to believe because of how emotional people can get regarding it. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, I haven't studied it. I don't know.
yeah.
RG.
I think for the policy, if you're not waiting, there's no, like, the valedictorian, salutatorian is pretty much meaningless. Because there have been plenty of examples of students gaming the process to be able to be the valedictorian, salutatorian. So I think if we're gonna keep it, we need to think about waiting. And I understand your point, Tim, about colleges doing their own weighting, and they're gonna unweight and then do their own weighting. But if we're gonna keep GPA as a consideration for determining a salutatorian or valedictorian, I think we need to wait at that point. And then question for the students, how would you all feel about not having valedictorian, salutatorian, or valedictory class and being able to select a student speaker or two that you wanted to hear from as a class? And it could be based on like academic performance or other.
I worry that that would very quickly turn into a popularity contest, and people who won that contest wouldn't be the best representation of the class, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I also think, like you kind of said it earlier, like there are like the students who like work hard and like take harder classes, maybe because they want to, and then also because they hope they get the recognition for like their hard work. So I do think,
Yeah, I think the purpose of valedictorian and salutatorian is to push people to keep taking hard classes and to keep working in school. And so if you take that away, like, what's the motivation to keep going? Yeah.
What about the valedictory class? Like, how do you feel about valedictory class? Is it meaningful?
I think it's kind of like similar, the same aspect. Yeah, I like my friends. We've definitely been talking about it, and like throughout the years, have like, oh yeah, like we want to like take more APs and like get that recognition. I think yeah, similar.
It's just another recognition for the people who worked hard and took the hard classes. I think it's important to have.
You could, I argue like the weighting is a component of it. The valedictorian class, changing the criteria of that would then limit the pool of who gets into the valedictorian and salutatorian pool. Because that's, if you create that data set and you make that data set smaller, that means who you choose from that criteria and how that criteria is developed does then change who your valedictorian or salutatorian could be. I also thought Mr. Kelly brought up a couple key components that aren't in it. Early graduation, not here. right? Students transferring in. I don't know the legal components of that. I'd have to look into it. But again, not in the policy. So those are two things that I took from his conversation that I also don't see here that you would, I think, would have to be brought up for consideration. I'm sure there's other things people thought of too, but those are two key points that have been topic of conversation in the past.
And it happened here.
Is there a way to could we have Jess, someone pull? Obviously you can't pull a negative, but to the extent that whatever subcategory you deem to be most appropriate for competitors, can you pull policies so that we can have them?
Oh, board policies?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, I can have,
From
Yeah.
surrounding.
yeah, we can easily do that.
Um,
Policies and practices. Let me talk to a couple superintendents
Yeah.
to see if I can get, just to make sure their practices match their policies and see if they might not have it there, but it might be somewhere else, like curriculum guide or somewhere. Let me check and see.
Mr. Kelly, what's the purpose of not using weighted GPAs?
Thank you for asking. So if we're going to weight grades, we're going to really damage our electives, our music programs, because Michaela takes 6 APs, gets 100 average in every class. You take 6 APs, band and chorus, you get 100 in every class. Your GPA is going to be higher than yours. So unless you can figure that out, that's why. That's the simplest way for me to explain it. If it would really hurt the band and the chorus for sure, probably the art, tech, all the electives.
And the more electives we add, like these English electives or these other components, like we have the sports, like sports philosophy that Mr. Lawrence teaches. I can't think of the name of the course right off the top of my head. Something like that.
Sports psychology.
Like what kids love, that might get hurt because then it doesn't get weighted.
Yeah. Every elective would be weighted less.
Kids, a lot of our kids are very high, as you said, highly competitive, right? They want that. So, you know, the ranking does count right here. Like our kids really want those high GPAs.
So can I ask the students, it sounds like valedictory class is something that you think is important to motivate students to continue to push themselves and achieve like that level. But is valedictorian, salutatorian equally important? Like, do you think we should have it? Is that something that people are like striving towards and it's important for the district to have?
I think it's more and more in the valedictory class. I think being named the top 1 and the top 2 in your class is like the biggest accomplishment. There are definitely people pushing for it and beating it for it since freshman year. Like that's their goal.
Yeah, I definitely think there's always gonna be like the few people that want the top title. So I definitely think, yeah, it's still worth it.
I don't think.
Do you- Go ahead.
I just don't think it's worth taking it away. Even if there's 5 people competing for it and it's a small pool, there's still 5 people competing for it or still pushing themselves for it.
Yeah.
I keep going back to hearing people just saying like the gaming of the system. And there's got to be a way to remove gaming. I mean, there has to be. Otherwise, I mean, I'm hearing you say that valedictorian and salutatorian class is important, or the person named and valedictorian class is important. But yet,
Everybody,
I'm there.
coming late.
But if
Still
it's,
more than
Thank
one.
you.
but if it's also somewhat of, this sour taste in everyone's mouth when someone stands up there and is really not a true representation of the class, then I don't know, just seems unsavory.
Because we're gonna ask for your income.
Well, let me say, just before, like, I'll give Kristen a moment to get her bearings. 2 things I was thinking, hey, we could always do surveys to students and to the community, right? If you ever wanted to see their feeling is on valedictorian, salutatorian.
Yeah.
And we could use a token. So what I mean by a token is there's a way to do a Google survey or form survey that allows one person who's within the school community to get one token, so therefore you can guarantee that it's only one vote per household or per person.
Yeah.
In it, so the Burton Hills Boston Lake is done, they use this. And it's worked out pretty well. It's a token system, so that way you can guarantee that you're not waiting at, somebody's not gaming that system, right? Because there's a way to do that with surveys, so you can get one specific token.
Voting for American Idol.
It kind of is like voting for America. Yeah, you can wait that.
Okay,
right?
myself.
Yeah. The other thing is, you know, and I say this caringly, no matter what is done, and no matter the best process that you try to build into something, eventually down the road, 5 years, nothing's infallible, right? So somebody might find a way to game it or change it or do something. So I think that the thought is not gaming, in my opinion, is how do you make it represent what the people want, what is appropriate for the school district, and put enough structures on it for the next few years. It is exactly what was discussed at the table when it was made, right? Because 5 years from now, somebody might find a way to move around it. Like APs may change, because as Tim said, the valedictory class in 2006, we only had 7 APs and no honors courses. Now look at us, right? So things have changed in our community. So I just wanted to kind of share that it's that kind of viewpoint and give you a chance now to think about it.
Gosh, so everyone's already talked.
Well, yeah, in a nutshell is that we've gone over what the policy is. We've gone over the fact that it may be in its current form due to some controversy. We're not discussing it now because we don't think any particular identifiable controversy.
We're just-
We're just
Yeah.
having a discussion.
And we started this was it last year, Tim, or 2 years ago? We started talking about the Val class and Val Sal. And I mean, as far as the Val class goes, and Tim's probably already kind of made these points, it does feel like it's not so special. There's a lot of kids that will qualify for this. So I just don't know if it's doing what it was maybe intended to do when it was first brought to policy. That makes sense.
So you said the class.
The Val class.
Val class.
Yeah, Val class.
So is there something that you think that we could do to tighten that up?
You know, I don't know if it's,
Add value?
yeah, I don't know if it's making the criteria more strict or, making it feel a little bit more rigorous to achieve. Or is it not doing its point anymore? Is it feeling for the kids who are not in the Val class? I think about that too. If we have, I don't know if you brought numbers, Tim, but last year's Val class, if you had to guess how many kids, it was 20,
At least 20.
At
It's
least
always more
20,
than 20, I think.
maybe 25. So if it's a quarter of the class, what about the rest of the class? Do those kids, I don't know, how do they feel? Do they feel,
Well, and of course, there's to that point, and Ellie, pretty much everyone has made it in varying degrees. It's the question of the issue of effort. I mean, a student may work very, very hard, and they get the grade that they deserve, but it's a well-deserved grade, and so it understandably maybe raises some questions of value and how accurate it is.
Yeah, because this policy's still doing, and I don't know when this policy was put into place, do we?
20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, okay, Voorheesville 20 years ago to today, is that still equal, right? Is the Val class of 20 years ago equal to the Val class of today? Is it doing its goal?
I have a silly question, just because I think I know the answer. If we got rid of all, right? No valedictorian, no salutatorian, no valedictory class, does that change students' ability to go to college, who gets into what, anything like that?
Not getting into college.
Not directly,
Okay.
but if it takes motivation away and students
That's why I'm asking,
work less hard, but I don't know. I don't know that you
but there's no
guys-
specific, like, if you're not valedictorian, you don't get into this school.
Right.
That's- The scores and everything are there, so this is more of a,
Valedictorian is not
emotional-
determined until after college
Okay.
decisions are made.
I mean, maybe there's some scholarships that will need like a ranking, but that's still something we could do.
well, the state ones is always a top
Right,
3,
yes.
right?
Yep. Yeah, there's like a
State.
STEM scholarship, right? That's the top 10.
The New York State, I think the New York State has a valedictorian, salutatorian, and an
Yeah,
honor graduate
yeah.
award, right? I can remember that from years ago. I think they still have it.
Yeah, last year Mac got the New York State one, but not valedictorian, salutatorian.
Yeah, because it's based on GPA and other criteria. Sorry, I just wanted to, I say that because
Yeah.
when we're talking about it, I don't want people to think, well, you're taking, if the district tries to take something away or add something, well, it's gonna have a negative impact. It can have a negative impact on.
Our school district.
Process, right.
Right?
Do you know any besides?
So like okay, no.
Niska
just-
unit.
This
So
unit doesn't-
Niska unit also like got rid of everything, at least valedictorian, salutatorian. So one data point I'd be interested in, Frank, is whether for those districts that did get rid of it, did they experience any students like dropping off in terms of AP class registrations? Like, was it demotivating in the
I
way
can-
that we?
I have a good
expect it might
relationship
be?
with Una, so I can find out that pretty easily.
Do you think the Val class motivates kids to sign up for honors and AP classes?
Yes,
You do?
we do, yeah.
I really like the idea, particularly now with this limitation of a home or household. I really like the community feedback idea. We should try to do that. Whenever I think contextually feasible. And I don't think we should do it right yet. What I would like to do for purposes of this meeting between policy members, and we don't have to do it immediately right now, is to either vote or have an understanding that that's what we're gonna do, because I think we need to promote it, and I think that's the next board meeting to say, hey, it's the survey's gonna go out, and get people to provide responses, but and I don't think that necessarily means that we have to change anything. I mean, we can get the feedback and decide that the feedback isn't determinative or it's all over the place. It's like the policies on this issue tend to be. So in terms of a game plan forward, do we have any other idea? I mean, because that's what I'd like to do, is I'd like to do the community survey. Is there anything else that we should be doing at this point?
Well, I think getting the data, as RG said, also collecting policies so we can see what's out there. I think those three things together are really important. I also think kudos to the board for taking this on, looking at it. We've talked about this for a long time now, and it hasn't gotten to this point.
Mhm.
So thank you for taking an opportunity to evaluate it, and that's all you're doing, right? And I think that's the conversation that's out there, is you're starting the conversation to see if it can change. So I say promote it. Let's talk about a survey and develop it, a very simple one, right? Nothing crazy. And then look at data points, and policies. I think if we start compiling that and start those conversations, by next year, you could have, some change or be change or the same policy, but I think you probably had it solidified within a year.
I know.
So,
you both-
Can I?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to doing a survey. I think we should do all that, but I do think a short-term change that we could make is to change the criteria. I think to Kristen's point, it's not reflective of like the level of rigor that students are achieving now. So that's something I would advocate we do sooner than later.
What would that be applicable to? It would have to be the
Oh,
the next
phase
graduate.
it. We'd have to phase it by cohort, right?
We'd have, yeah. It wouldn't take place immediately, right? It wouldn't be effective immediately, but at least to put the requirements out there.
Yeah, for an eighth graders maybe.
I don't even know like how to decide what's more rigorous. Yeah, I know, Tim, you've put some
A while ago, yeah.
thought into things, but if that's also something to kind of really think about too.
I think this is going to be a lot of conversation from people, because I think also getting the viewpoints of, the history teacher, the English
Right.
teacher, the music teacher, right? Because the specials, the foreign language, the world language, all those components built into it, I think are important, because we might be missing something without getting those perspectives of others when we talk about what's important, what should a valedictorian or valedictory class really have as part of it, yeah.
Well, just a question off the top of my head, is it a thing where a district has a thou and thou type title for a different category?
Aw.
You know, arts and, you know,
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I don't, just a thought, I mean, because I mean, having been involved in music myself, I mean, that's huge. I mean, your schedule is, I mean, you spend your whole days in the band room, you know, doing good stuff, but someone decides that that is not worthy of the same weight as someone who's, you know, really busting their hump and, you know.
Same with CTE.
or-
Yeah.
Kids who go to VOTEC
CTE, yes.
spend
They
2
do
years
That would
there.
be another category.
But they do get awards to the CTE.
They
Oh,
do,
they do,
they
yes.
do, and they can, you know, if they're in the
There is like,
technical honor
there's a lot of
society,
awards for that.
they have a ribbon they can wear around their neck at graduation as well. But, you know, that's not reflected in our current policy or even frankly, one we're talking about around the table.
But I think that's why New York is also doing the pathways for graduation, so they allow for the pathways to music for that kind of accreditation and component pathways first. So that is kind of the component as well, probably. Again,
Because that's gonna interact with a lot of this, I would think. I mean, and another question is, should we, like you wanna say, you know, hold it up even more, that it's, aren't the graduation required something that we might want to see take hold before?
If they're,
Right.
No.
Yeah, I don't think,
This is a very-
if you're gonna change this, frankly, I don't think we wait for New York
You're
State
right,
to
okay.
do it, because they are taking forever.
Right, okay.
kind of harkens back to what I said, is like New York State has there's a lot of competing energies and voices, right? That come out of this stuff. Look at us around the table and all like, oh, it could be that, could be this, could be that.
Mhm.
We're talking about our small community in comparison. So
Right.
I agree, like, there's small changes that can happen. There's larger changes. I think we have to really look at it and say, what is our main focus for now, for next year, for 2 years? What do we want it to look like in New York when we piece this out?
And this is like coming at a good time where we're talking about the grading policy and getting all of that straightened up and buttoned up.
It all
Yes, it all
intertwines.
works together.
Anything else, RG, on this one, and also our.
No, I'm good on this topic, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a couple more policies. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome to, but if not.
What are the policies?
Yeah. And I was thinking what I was about to say before was that I know you've both done a fantastic survey, generally regarding, I think, student satisfaction. But, you know, this might be another topic and might ask you to, you know, maybe get a bit deeper on, because I think that that's the voice and feedback is really, really important. So thank you for what you've already done in terms of the survey, and thank you in advance for what you're gonna help us with.
Yeah, I can definitely do another survey.
Okay, well, I'd say you're welcome to stay, but I can't make that call, so.
They can, they're more than
Well,
welcome.
if you wanna stay, we're gonna move on to, well, I don't know, I don't want,
I will write a pass.
There you go, there you go.
I will write a pass for them. and it will-
Fantastic.
Yeah, my pass will trump anything, so it's all right.
There we go. Okay, so the next policy, I think we're going to pick up is for, it's 8505, which is the,
Charging school meals and prohibition against shaming. So as we talked about last time, there was a couple different policies kind of intertwined together, recommendation for a required policy. So I took the opportunity to meld them all together and create one specific policy with a couple renaming to match NISBA's policy and current practices. So, and Colleen and Paul Franchini and Colleen DiCaprio added some thought processes into this as well. So Get rid of everything, because there might be a question there.
I was
Yeah.
just resolving.
Okay, let's, just in case there's
Okay.
something. So really, it just is our basic practice what New York State allows for meals and everything, because again, charge policies, meal shaming came out a few years back. Any questions on this one, really? I can go down to a couple different things. If a student cannot pay for a meal of unpaid meal debt, they should not be publicly identified and stigmatized. That's been something that's been around for a few years now. It talks about, now I added the universal free meal programs because we never qualified for SEAP in the past, but now since the governor has it within their policies, I added a little language in there that really kind of speaks about it. And also talks about what they have to purchase and what they can't purchase.
The only question that I have outstanding is in terms of unclaimed fund, positive balances, is it lawful for the district to just retain that, or is that something that has to be handed over to, for example, the comptroller?
That was the one that I asked Colleen to talk about.
Okay,
And she sent me an email. So
Okay.
we turned it.
Hey Frank, when you get a chance, can you go back up to universal free meals?
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys talked about.
I would change the double negative in the last sentence. Something like a student may not be permitted to charge a la carte items if the student does not have sufficient funds available, something like that.
So, yeah, so the school, each school district sets a local policy on the amount refunded. Most districts set it as $5 due to the amount of administrative time it takes for anything smaller than that amount. If a sibling remains in the school of the student who has graduated or left the district, the balance can be transferred to their account. As school lunch is a not-for-profit, any refunded student balances serve as assets to the school lunch fund to offset any negative operation costs of the district. So there's no law requiring a set amount of refund, and it is set by local schools, so it is legal to do so. Colleen did suggest moving that to $5. I suggest increasing the amount that the district will automatically refund to $5 because like $1 or $2 is the time to do it.
is that in?
It is. I think it was currently $1 at the moment. We automatically refund. Unclaimed funds remaining after 3 months will be absorbed by the school account. It used to be $1.
I guess what I'm saying is the 1 versus 5 in the policy, or is that kind of?
We would have to put it in the policy.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, if that's the preference in terms of squeeze versus juice. Go back up to the universal, it was the last sentence in that section, right, RJ?
Yeah, I was just suggesting we get rid of the double negative in that last sentence of the second paragraph.
Student attendance insufficient. All right, why don't we change not available to unavailable?
That works.
I have to look back at the policy. I think there's a better language that I can add here for the end. I don't know really off the top of my head. Would you mind if I take another shot at the last line?
Do we, the last line in remaining account balances?
Yeah, I think NISBA had something different here that I would like to add to it.
Do we absolutely need this and go back and do that, or can we, is this something that we can, do we have a current,
Yeah, or it's very limited, I think.
but you're okay with carrying it over?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no rush.
Okay, so why don't we do that? We made that change, that last change under universal meal programs, and then Frank and Steve go back and take a look at the language regarding unclaimed funds. And we'll come back and revisit that. Everybody okay with that? Okay, so we'll the facility dog policy, which already has had a first read. I think we just wanted to come back to that before it goes on for a second read. Does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns about that?
For people who weren't at the board meeting or part of policy, this is facility dogs. It's a therapy dog. It's not a district-owned therapy dog. This is if somebody has a therapy dog that they already have and it's certified and they would like to bring the dog in for school use, they're more than welcome to do so. And there's a way and a mechanism now to allow that to occur. Written on policy. That's really all that is. Anyone?
We, I know last time we talked about the facility dogs at the board meeting, some of the questions came up about what if I was like allergic to, or what if I'm deathly afraid of dogs? I know that's kind of in the no disruption and sort of in the control section of it, but I was wondering if that would be, if that would ease people's minds, if we put something in about, you know, where do you go if you're allergic to the dog? Or
Well, the dog doesn't have it. So that's what's in here. So a facility must be excluded from property in any building the school determines. And if you look at the bottom, presents a direct and immediate threat to others, the animal's presence otherwise interferes with the educational process. So if someone's deathly, extremely allergic to the dog and they can't be in the classroom and the co-handler can't support that or help with it, then the dog has to go.
Yeah.
Right? Students will always take first precedent.
Well, then, never mind about my comment down below. Because that is,
Yeah, that's why I look at that one where it says exclusion or removal from school. And I felt like that was kind of taken, that was where it was.
because my only thought there is, having some firsthand experience with severe allergies, I think the reality is, okay, well, if in one classroom, there's an allergic reaction, simply moving the dog down the hallway because some people are so sensitive that quite literally the path that animal has traveled is now these allergens. And so, it could be so severe in some instances where,
Just can't handle it.
which then, you already pointed out that the exclusion section of the policy covers that.
That's me and cats. I cannot be around a cat. I cannot go into the house that has a cat.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
somebody had cat hair on them, after an hour, I have allergic reaction if I'm around somebody with cats. Like I have to take allergy medicine just to be on the safe side of it. So I get it, but that's why that's built in. So like if there's any issue that comes out of it, and that's what you have your medical director for in your school, in your building principal will address those situations. But the policy makes it pretty clear that if it's determined by an admin that it his presence interferes, person can't bring it.
I'll point out, we also have the language in there about having a co-handler to allow for situations where like the dog needs to leave a classroom for one period, if that's sufficient, right? But that's in there.
Not a pig, not a duck, not a snake. Only a dog.
No rabbits.
No rabbits.
All right, so are we okay with this going forward to second read as is? You were about to ask a question.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure it was on the notes.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put that on for a second read. And then let's do this animal dissection. So this is personal recollection. Frank, is this new?
Yeah, so animals in schools. This is one of the ones that I found that is required. But well, we do it, right? So we do all of the things that are in it. It's just we don't have the written required policy in our handbook. Again, policies change for a period of time. This is one that we just haven't done. So I had the department leader, director of curriculum, and building principals look this over. They talked about this and what they currently do. They're using draft letters now that will go out next year to all the families as well. And again, it's a handful of classes. It's only 2 classes where we do animal dissection. So that's what this is. It says animals in schools. I don't like the name of the policy, to be very honest with you, because I'm wondering if we could change it to something
I don't
different
see
than
why
animal.
we couldn't, because I was thinking the same thing.
It's animal dissection,
If,
not,
if the policy applies exclusively to animal dissections, let's just say what we mean.
yeah, can we? Because I don't like animals in schools, that bothers me.
Animal dissection in, how about instructional animal dissection?
Anyone opposed to that? So they like the policy as is. Any
Yeah.
questions?
Two S's.
Oh, it didn't come up though. There we go.
Okay. So we're all okay with putting that would be a new policy, so.
Yeah,
it would
first read.
require First read. Okay. And then I guess in a couple minutes we have left, we can take a look at. Here's another one where it seems to me that the title is not necessarily with the substance of the policy.
Which one's that?
Conditional, oh, sorry, it's 9260, the next. Yeah. Uh, So, we do not, I don't believe we do have anything.
Sorry, I'm trying to get this one.
I apologize.
No, you're good. Go ahead, talk about it.
So this is a policy I think is prompted. Do we have any iteration of 9260?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because by board authority and by that at reorg meeting, you allow me, the board allows me the ability for emergency appointments underneath state regulations, state law, so I'm allowed to do so already. So this really then basically says the same thing. I don't know what a conditionally appointed, like there's some things that supervision of conditionally appointed and emergency conditionally appointed employees providing services remotely. I don't know what that is. But hire a conditional or emergency conditional basis has been extended. So I have to look at what that means because I'm not sure. Like I would never hire somebody who doesn't have fingerprint prints, right? Just isn't going to happen because that's not conditional. So I'd like to know exactly what the conditional. My always thought process was I have the ability to hire somebody prior to them being board appointed in case I need them for filling or for a specific issue of instruction or supervision. That's always been the hire in emergency condition. This policy, I'm just not specific. I'm not really fully aware of it. So it's one I found. Haven't really done a lot of work on it.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, if you have questions and are, at all uncomfortable, certainly we want you to get answers to
Yeah.
questions that you have. And as I read it, I think it seems it's founded upon the ability to make emergency appointments, but I think it applies more to who the emergency appointee can be in contact with.
Right. I mean, no district employee holds a conditional emergency conditional appointment will teach a class or provide services to students. I mean,
And that's contrary to what you.
Yeah, or the classroom or office door closed. I mean, why am I hiring the person? Like, I would go through all the processes. So I just don't understand this as well. Like, I would never hire somebody that I would have a concern with, like, knowingly do that. Okay. That's all. This policy just kind of confused me now, but
So
RG, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, my take is that this is basically parroting what the law allows. We are not doing anything close to the line, right? In terms of our practice. This gives you
Right.
more authority than you're currently exercising.
Right.
So I don't I don't have any problem with it as written.
And I don't
I'd be
have to
fine.
exercise that, all that
Yeah,
authority,
you
but
have to do any of these things, right? Like, it's just saying what you can do if you had a need.
which is always,
So you wanna talk to,
well, we can put it on as a first read, since we've never had it before,
Okay.
and then talk to council, get people feedback on
Okay.
it, and then come back. You wanna do that?
is everybody okay with the policy with the suggested changes, by NISBA? We can put it on for a first read and then hold off on a second until we're all comfortable with it.
I'm good.
Once you get into the weeds. I'm sorry, what was that?
I was saying I'm good with the plan.
Okay. So with that said, our next meeting, I think, is around the corner.
Really exciting.
You're gonna think so.
What do we,
We do.
is it really April 1st?
Is it seriously April 1st?
That's what I have. Is that what everybody else has?
That might be tough for me.
That's just 2 weeks.
That's,
Just be every-
Yeah, we have,
No, it's every month, but we,
yeah, we have a little.
although I think today's was regularly scheduled as this next week's, so I think we. Do we wanna?
So I'm-
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'll be remote on the 1st, but I can make it work.
we can always, if you give me a few more weeks on top of this, instead of doing April 1st, we push it back maybe a week after break comes back. I might have more information from the grading regulation at that point. The staff have had more time to look at it. So we might get more out of this if we push it back 2 weeks.
I'll take a look at the calendar and see if, along with that, whether or not that throws, I mean, I would say it the bad way, but if it throws everything else off, we may want to just do some adjustments.
Yeah.
So I'll take a look at that and I'll email and see if we need to change things. But, okay, so maybe April 1st, maybe not. Stay tuned.
All right.
Okay, sounds good. Unless anybody's got anything else for the committee, we'll go ahead and adjourn. And safe travels, Archie.
Thanks, Archie.